my baptismal name is Carolyn. And then in religion, I was named Sister Mary Agnes. And then I went back to my baptismal name because it was my dad said he will always call me Carolyn. And we had that choice at the time. And my mom and dad, yeah, they, Agnes and Lawrence Hoying. And my dad was a farmer and moved into, and we lived on the home place when they moved from Germany. So our farm is now about 150, no, it's more than that. Yeah, about 150 years old. Mm-hmm. And so the family farm is still in the family. One of my brothers now has the farm, and his sons are farming it as well, and they will take over the farm. So, but it's a neat little community of Egypt. You know, we went to church every day, and I went to a public school, but we had sisters as our teachers, and you know, we had religion class, though, because it was a public school. We had religion classes in the basement of the church. And so, you know, that was a difference compared to a lot of people that, you know, went to a Catholic school. Or, I mean, went to a public school. They didn't have that same opportunity of a religion right there. Well, I am now into my 52nd year of religious life. And I have been, my ministries have been varied, somewhat varied. I started off, I've been a teacher most of my life. And so that you probably don't want to know where, or maybe you do. At St. Rita's in Dayton, Ohio, and then I went to Fort Recovery, which was a rural area. And then from there I went to Virginia and taught there. And then from Virginia, I went to Resurrection in Dayton. And then from Dayton, I went to Salina, Ohio, to Immaculate Conception. From Immaculate Conception, then I became a principal next, and then I became principal in Wapakoneta St. Joe's Catholic School, and then from there I went to Colorado, to St. John the Evangelist Catholic School. And it was in that town, or at St. John's, that I was the new principal. I was the only religious in the city of Loveland, Colorado. So that was an interesting thing. And then from there, the community called me to be vocation coordinator for our community. And presently, I am a volunteer here at the Precious Blood Ministry of Reconciliation, working with on the south side of Chicago.
Sister Mary Regina Albers.
And what do you go by now?
Regina, Sister Regina.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Egypt, Ohio. And I was born in February on a very cold winter day, and I was baptized the same day I was born. And I told Mom, I said, how did you do that? And she said, well, we told the priest the due date. We had the godparents lined up for the due date, and when you were born during the night, the next morning we called them, and you were baptized the same day. And Mom said then we could rest easily. Should anything happen, everything would be fine. An act of faith. The final discernment definitely was in the novitiate. We had, excuse me, we had a retreat when I was a canonical novice. And what I remember of that retreat, I think that was my real discernment, that this is what I am to do. And I went into my senior novice year with the goal that this is what I was going to do. The first time I even talked about being a sister was to my dad. I took piano lessons, and we were driving home from the piano lesson. And I thought I had to tell Dad that I wanted to go to the high school in Dayton with the sisters. And so I told him, and later he told me he about drove off the road. He about had a wreck, because this is the last thing he ever dreamed I would do, because I was quite a tomboy. I wasn't I didn't give a lot of indications that I would make a good sister at that time, at least not in my dad's eyes. I surprised them very much. They never put anything in the way that I shouldn't do it. And I know that Dad talked to people, and I remember him saying one time that he had talked to someone at the Knights meeting, and that person had said, okay, if this is what she wants, God is leading her. And so I never had to struggle about having permission to go or that they didn't support me. The United States, in my mind, would not be what it is if there had been no religious. Because in the beginning, the need for orphanages, the need for hospitals, those needs were there. The sisters came forward and inaugurated them, and some of those hospitals still are in existence. And I think that they have, and in education, in our own community, when our sisters came to this area, the first thing that the people begged for was teach our children. And of course, in those years, if someone could read or write, they could be an educator because there was so much illiteracy. So I think education is one of the great things that the sisters have given to the nation.
I'm the youngest of 4 children. I have 3 older brothers, and my mom's side of the family, they were mostly Lutheran, German, and on my dad's side of the family, they were also German and mostly First United Church of Christ. And when my parents got married, we were raised First United Church of Christ up until, I want to say I was in high school, because in the Protestant world, it's more about who the minister is, and they had a minister change at the church where I was growing up, and my parents really didn't like that minister, so they went shopping for another church, and I just kind of dropped out at that point. Okay. With one other person or a couple relationship, because I always had some things about those relationships that I liked my alone time too. So it just seemed like it was something that God was calling me to pursue, and I couldn't not pursue it, because if I would just ignore it, it wouldn't go away. And was not even thinking about it. I had a friend who was Catholic, a guy friend, and I knew at that point in my life that I wanted to be back into what we would call organized religion. I had already, through faith, had developed my personal relationship with Jesus. But I knew that I wanted to be in a faith community, that it wasn't something you could just practice by yourself, and that part of being a Christian is being in a faith community. And my friend was Catholic, so he brought me to St. Patrick's in Troy and set that up, and that's where I inquired, and they put me in a small faith community to share around the scripture readings, the gospel readings, and then from there I entered the RCIA, which is our process for becoming Catholic.
I had a wonderful mother and father, very committed to the Catholic faith, and so going to church, praying the rosary, praying the Stations of the Cross, all those devotional prayers were very important. And my father, I think he really found God in nature, because we lived on a beautiful farm, and that was really very important to him. Well, for the first part of my religious life, I was an educator, a teacher, elementary teacher, and a principal. And then I had a change of vocation, or not really vocation, a change of career, and began to work really with the marginalized and the poor, and more in social work. I think I was in elementary school. In fact, I know I was, and it's kind of an interesting story, because when I was in the 7th grade, I went into our Catholic church there in North Star one lunchtime, and because I wanted to really look at the Stations of the Cross. And so when I got to the 12th station, it was just kind of an overwhelming feeling within me. And I think that was kind of the moment that I realized that there was some special call in my life. And it's very interesting that I became a sister of the precious blood. So I think that what really attracted me to religious life was, first of all, I had a cousin that was in the order, the Precious Blood Order. And I used to kind of wonder what her life was like, although I very, very seldom saw her. And then just watching sisters that taught me on Saturday, they taught me instructions. I didn't go to a Catholic school. There wasn't a Catholic school in North Star. So anyway, just kind of observing sisters and thinking that I wanted to really be about God's work. There are many blessings, you know, and one of them is just being a part of a group of wonderful women, you know, so dedicated to a mission and to their spirituality, the precious blood. That's one of the great joys. And then the other, just the many opportunities that we have to meet people of diverse backgrounds and different expressions. So I think that's one of the great blessings. And then just the opportunity for spiritual growth. You know, we're really encouraged to make an annual retreat. And I think, you know, a lot of women, my own sisters, really didn't have that opportunity or didn't have that encouragement probably. And so those are many. The challenges, I think the challenges probably is, I think there's a question, there's what is the vow that is the most difficult for me now. I think, and that would be poverty. And I think one of the challenges is for me is not having my own money, because I see so many poor people, and you know, I would just love to help them, you know, and to, you know, and I feel like if I had my own money, maybe I wouldn't have had a lot of money, but if I had, I would have really wanted to help people, you know, on probably a daily basis, just taking care of needs, and having accountability on their part also, but, you know, just to help more people. But, you know, I have to keep writing grants or begging for money or doing development. Sometimes that's the challenge. And maybe that's not just the challenge of religious life, it's the challenge of being a part of a nonprofit organizations.